One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. So let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days passed and we back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and Aaron Olinger. What's up, everybody? Man, every week it seems like these 7 days go by quicker and quicker. But we got a pretty good story for you this evening. We hope everybody chimes in and put in their 2 cents, ask questions, whatever, because I think this is important for everybody watching. But before we jump into this story, like always, we check, see what everybody done for the week. So we'll start with you, Aaron. What's up, brother? How was your week?
Kind of sad. I had a friend, I kind of like to dedicate this show to him. His name's Al Robertson, an avid viewer of this program. I mean, he would watch it every Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday, we'd talk about it and go back and forth. New to prepping, been in it about a year, made great advancements. I'd go over to his house and whatever he could learn, he'd go out and acquire the equipment, buy his gold, silver. I mean, making a lot of progress. I mean, he was a husband, a father, a grandfather, a great guy, would give his left arm for you if you needed help with anything. Even if it was last minute, he'd always be there for you. he went and had a massive heart attack while he was talking with his daughter and fell down on the floor, never woke up. The doctors gave him till yesterday at 12 noon to wake up. If he didn't open his eyes or show any more signs of life, they pulled his breathing tube at 12 noon, and he passed away at 12:20. So
Oh, wow.
seeing that this guy was ex-military, ex-Air Force, exercised every day, ate right, I mean, this blows my mind that it could happen to him, because he would be the last person I would have expected something like this to suddenly happen to. And it's kind of hard to deal with, but it made me realize how precious life is, and we can't be sitting back thinking we got all the time in the world, because we don't know when that time's going to come to an end. So we got to make every day, every minute count. So I'm
Absolutely.
gonna stop there.
Absolutely. Well, prayers and condolences to his family. Um, like I said, he was an avid viewer of this show, and that's that's real sad. Being the fact of not only was he a veteran, but he was also one of exercising, eating right, and everything else. So that tells you
On top of it,
that,
right?
that death waits on no one, no matter what you doing, trying to do. When it's your time, it's your time. But like I said, my thoughts and prayers is to his family, and also to you, Aaron. I know he was a good friend of yours, so my condolences to you as well.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry to hear that, Aaron. That's terrible news. And speaking of, life being precious and all that, that's something that I've definitely kind of grown more and more as I do my own show in the morning. I used to reserve myself and really kind of isolate my own self a lot. And I don't necessarily do that as much anymore. I actually kind of go out above and beyond not to do that anymore. Like whether it be with family, friends, acquaintances, whatever. I try my damnedest not to get stuck into that. And yeah, no, I'm super sorry to hear that overall, man. That's just terrible. So yeah, I mean, it's something that I take serious as well. So yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, this week has been it's been eventful. I remember last week I was telling you about um, doing the film Change Your Heart that I had to do
Yes.
Saturday. So we got that done. That was that was a really good time. It was set up at Tampa Municipal Courts. So we had the actual courtroom, did everything in there, and of course I played the prosecutor, and it was pretty eventful. You know what I mean? It seemed so real, being the fact that you're in the courtroom actually doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was about to say, how does it feel to be on the other side of the law?
Yeah, right. You know what? I said just that too. It's funny how I'm sitting here being on the other side of this instead of on the
Straight
seat
up.
across from me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Defendant
it was
right there. Yep.
but it was a real good time. They got that wrapped up. I'll keep you posted as to when that's actually coming out. As I told you last week, with standing on business, they end up changing that over to the lawful ones. They and then once they sent it out, the distributors in Tubi decided that they wanted to make it a miniseries, so they sent it back, and we had to added like another 13 scenes to it, and I think the last couple scenes is going to be done this weekend for it to be sent off to them by Tuesday. But that's a real good thing. Also, the other movie, Line 'Em Up, came out, and Line 'Em Up ended up being the #1 most viewed movie on Tubi.
What?
Yeah.
Damn.
So now we got Tubi calling, trying
hell
to
yeah.
see how quick we're gonna be able to do. See how quick we're gonna be able to do season 2 and get that to them. So that's a real good thing too. Now I wasn't I wasn't in part one of Line 'Em Up, but I will be in part two.
Dope.
So that's that's a real good thing. We got um Born Protector, which is going to start in October. That's the first movie that's going to be under the Diamond Effect Entertainment label. That one is going to be that's going to be a real good movie. It's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of plot twists, a lot of that with it. So I think everybody's going to really enjoy that one once it's done. But we're moving. We got three feature films, 2 miniseries that's coming out this year. Well, we got a year to do them. Put it like that.
Damn.
We got a year to do.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. So that's gonna be the foreplan. But you got Riding Dirty Part 1 that's finally gonna drop next week. You got Riding Dirty 2 that's already out. Lawful Ones is gonna be out here within the next I'll say probably 2 months. You got Change of Heart is gonna be out in about 2 months. So it's a lot of stuff moving right now. Also, before we get into this topic for this evening, I wanted to give out. There's a couple of people that I know that faithful watchers that watches, and also they're on Facebook and everything, that had birthdays this week that I noticed on there. One is Heather Moe, who was always on here. She's always on here talking, and she's actually one of the admins for the Diamond Effect group page, and she's also on here holding up patrol. So if you put something you shouldn't be putting and you get blocked, that's who it is that did it. Oh shit! We also had Christy Sanchez. She was on the group page. I seen that her birthday was yesterday. Also, Heather's was yesterday, and then my daughter's birthday was also this week. So it's been it's a lot of birthdays. So if you're listening, happy birthday from the Diamond Effect. So we're gonna jump in this topic today, and today we're gonna dive into culture wars. And you've seen it everywhere on the news, your news feed, dinner table, and everybody's talking about race, religion, gender, immigration, even what books your kids can read these days. Every issue has become a battlefield, some way, shape, form, or fashion. But here's the real question you should ask yourself. Are culture wars truly about values and morality, or are they carefully designed playbooks meant to divide, distract, and control us, while bigger decisions are being made behind closed doors? So in this episode tonight, we're going to break down how culture wars are being weaponized, who benefits from them, who funds them, and how they shape not just politics in America, but global power as a whole. So stay with us tonight, and this is what we're going to dive into on the Diamond Effect. Okay. So some people will ask, what exactly is a culture war? So on the surface, culture wars looks like clashes over beliefs, whether it's gun rights, LGBTQ issues, immigration, race issues, political issues, Republican, Democrat. But when you look deeper, they're not really about solving problems. They're more about creating battle lines, permanent battle lines. Now, culture wars turn complex when issues turn into black and white identity battles, or black, white, and brown identity battles, which it shouldn't be, leaving no room for compromise. And at this point, they're designed to keep us locked in conflict, generation after generation. So the term culture war became popular back in the 1990s, but the strategy is pretty ancient. Rome had the bread and circuses to distract the masses. Colonial powers pitted tribes against against religious groups, all in efforts to maintain control. Now, in America, culture wars have flared up again and again. You had the civil rights movement of the 1960s, which sparked backlash that politicians turned into law and order campaigns. Then back in the 80s in the Reagan era, where we learned the family values agenda. And then post 9/11, it was patriotism that became a cultural weapon. You're either with us or against us. So these culture wars aren't new. They're just recycled, rebranded, weaponized. And for these times that we live in, it's getting worse. So a lot of the stuff that we've seen over the past months, it's been escalating from one thing to another. And so you have the immigration issue. You have just recently you had the passing of Charlie Kirk, which sparked on a whole lot of stuff, which a lot of people didn't even know who this man was until after he passed away, which kind of seems like, why would we be going through all that? And then we also still have the overall race identity crisis. I call it a crisis because I think it's something that it shouldn't never be. And once we dive into this, then I'll speak a little bit more about it. But why is this stuff being done? Why is this propaganda and all this other stuff being used to keep us divided? Now, a lot of times we've been talking on this show and we've talked about different things that went on that mainstream didn't talk about and we brought up, and we actually brought the stuff up 3 and 4 weeks before they decided to bring it up. A lot of these different bills and stuff like that was going on that we brought up way ahead of when they actually decided to talk about it. And some of them didn't even talk about it at all. But we always talked about how there was always something that went on. And while that was going on and everybody was focused on that, then all this other stuff came behind that you never knew what happened. And then once it came up close and in personal, then you're like, hold up, where'd that come from?
Too late.
Right. This is something that punched in while you was worried about Diddy and worried about what Trump and Epstein was doing and what Elon Musk was doing with Doge, while y'all worried about this, all this other stuff was creeping in from behind it. Nobody knew anything about. You know what I mean? And then once people start getting wind of that, what happens? You put up another distraction, something else that's going to keep you looking to the left while everything is going on the right. Totally. So this is the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. So Aaron, I'll let you jump into it, and then we're going to, between me, you, and Mike, we're going to bounce through all of this, and we're going to put it all out there.
Okay. Real quick before you do, just code coming in with $5 saying respect, man. I really appreciate that. That all adds up. So thank you very much for the contribution to the channel, man. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. Well, I want to give the definition according to Wikipedia what a culture war is. It's the form of cultural conflict between different social groups that tries to impose their own ideology upon mainstream society or upon one another. The main goal of culture wars is to create separatism. You cause people to segregate into groups. When people are massed together, they're hard to control. But if you can segregate them into groups, you can pick them off one at a time. It makes it easy to figure out who's who. I mean, take a look at the 60s when the hippie and flower children movement was going on. All these college students coming out, they've been indoctrinated with these new ideals to free love and to love one another, which hate between the races was a big thing during the 60s. They couldn't have that. That sudden ideology change. So they created a war called the Vietnam War, and they drafted a lot of them out of here, and they totally ended that culture. They got rid of them. I mean, and then when you were talking about the Reagan era, a big thing under Reagan era that was causing trouble was liberal progressionism versus family values. Now, the liberal progressivism is where it's a left leaning political philosophy and reform movement that seeks to advance human condition through social reform, which that sounds decent on the surface. But then when you put it up against family values, which is traditionally held or learned values, such as high moral values or discipline, what's a big thing that came out under the Reagan era? Disciplining your child. Are you allowed to do that? And we can clearly say they changed it where you couldn't do it. They'd put you in jail over it. The Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. Okay, we're 20, 30 years later. Now we're seeing a group of people on the streets that has no respect for authority whatsoever. Don't even understand it. So did it help or did it hurt? And you could probably argue both sides of that coin because there was a percentage of children that were being abused, but was that the norm? Now, according to what they were saying is now illegal, my parents would have went to jail. But I am the man I am today because of the discipline that was instilled in me, those high moral family values. So it's very objective, and you can argue it in different forms. And then you could see where culture wars were used to rally political bases. Okay. I'll give you a clear example. When Hitler was trying to make his rise to power, he vilified the Jews to the German people, told them that they were suffering because of the Jews, when it was actually they were suffering due to the reparations that they had to pay for World War I. But people wanted or needed someone to hate, to rally against. So they went for the okie doke, they bought that, and they started hating the Jews, which helped Hitler to rise to power. Take a look at the Protestants versus the Catholics. How can you tell the difference between a Protestant and a Catholic unless I'm wearing something around my neck or something to indicate the difference? But they fought wars, and political people used that to rally their bases. They gained power behind preaching. If they were Protestant, they preached against the Catholics. If they were a political person for the Catholics, they preached hate against the Protestants. And it helped to rally their bases under them, but it helped to elevate their position. So these are definitely strategy moves. I mean, if you go to the Middle East, look at the Sunni versus the Shia. Of the Muslim or Islamic population, Sunnis make up 85% of the population. Shias only make up 15%. So what you have is a majority being used against a minority community. And then you can go to the Hindus versus the Muslims in India. 79% of India, 79.8% is Hindu. Only 14.2% is Muslim. Somebody trying to gain political power can rally one against the other. Take a look at, let's go more recent. Let's go back in 1996, the Tutsis versus the Hutus in Africa, the genocide that happened where 1 million deaths were killed. You had Hutu extremists killed 1 million Tutsis, which was the minority. You had Europeans sending money over there to arm the Hutus, and the Hutus had support of the government. So the genocide was justified. But later, the Tutsi formed the RPF, and they got outside help from foreign people making promises for mineral rights. And now they run the government. The Tutsi minority runs the government over there. They won the battles and won the wars because they were more heavily armed. But you can clearly see where separating the people off into groups can be manipulated like a master puppeteer pulling the strings, and you have people who don't think for themselves that will buy into ideology and can be easily manipulated through propaganda. They say propaganda is the first form of warfare, and we're seeing it being used today. I'll stop there.
Real quick, I want to thank Chuck Smith coming in saying for $25 on the Cash App, man, saying thank you for the raids. This is OG. My man, appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for the raid or the money. I appreciate that. $25 definitely goes a long way. And yeah, of course, man, anytime we see good people from my side, of course, I'm going to show the love as much as I can. You know what I mean? So regarding this culture war thing, I think there's a multitude of things happening, obviously, to make all of this work, right? I think it's like a unison of like 6 different things. It could be even more, right? Now, there was a couple of things I specifically wrote down on this to essentially kind of break it down, at least in my mind, how I look at it, right? So I wrote down that basically these are like the 6 things in 2025, the main causes, right? And then I'm going to give you my actual analysis on this. So political realignment around identity and race is number 1. Number 2, polarization and effective sorting. People aligning their personal identities, social networks, media consumption, and belief with a political tribe, stuff like that. Then media and the outrage industrial complex. Media models, especially social media, reward conflict, sensationalism. I can't say it correctly. That's what happens when I'm illiterate. And let's see. And then institutional and structural stress, basically economic inequality, stagnating social mobility, regional divides, stuff like that. And then academic, educational, and institutional culture clashes, which we see on these campuses every day. And the last thing that I will say has been a big highlight is Christian nationalism and identity-based religion politics. Now, with all of these things kind of working in unison, it's really working off of emotion for most people, unfortunately. And it's boiling down into politics. And I would have said maybe a year or two ago that my generation of people have kind of realized all of these things. It's not me versus you. It's us versus the government, you know? And that's something that I think that all of us can agree to, that we kind of see that the government is at least got their hand in it a little bit. Whether it's the entire thing or not, that's not really what I'm talking about. But I definitely do think that they have an agenda. And I think that if they're wanting chaos, obviously, rage bait stuff like that, when they're giving you chaos, that they want you to react. They want you to hate the other side. That's what they want. You can tell that's exactly what they want. So don't give it to them, you know? And I think that it's a big fault of us as citizens that also fall into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with, but both of you gave really good answers on that. I think for the most part, let's go. When me and Aaron was talking the other day about this, and I was telling him, I said, we seem to forget what happened in the past. A lot of us that's around now didn't go through the civil rights movement. We didn't go through none of that. So you don't know what all went on during that time. But I firmly believe that everybody has a fundamental right, just like the Declaration of Independence, of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Everybody has that fundamental right. I also believe that, everybody basically has the same goals, if you think about it. Every person wakes up in the morning with a couple things on their mind to do. Number one, they're going to go to work. They're going to go to work to do what? Pay their bills, make sure they got food on the table, be able to take care of the kids. Everybody has that. Every thought in just about every American's that's of working age has that thought in their mind every day that they get up to go to work. I go to work so I can make money, so I can pay my bills and take care of my kids and myself. Everybody has that. It doesn't matter whether you black, white, blue, gray, purple. Doesn't make a fucking difference. Doesn't make a fucking difference. Why do we continue to go back and prioritize this bullshit when you don't need to? Because it doesn't have anything to do with that. Now, mind you, do you have particular groups that pushes that shit? Absolutely. You have them. And we know who they are. We know that. But it seems like every time that something major is getting ready to go on that they don't want us to know shit about, you have the diversion, the distraction, and then while everybody is dealing with this, then they throw in, it never fails, you throw the race shit in it. So then it divides everybody. Now
Absolutely.
Everybody talking shit amongst each other. You know what I mean? They do it every single time. And my thing is that how is it that they do it every single time and you fall for it every single fucking time you fall for it? You know what I mean? I don't get it. You would think that, like first time, like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You would already know what this is and what it's going to. So when you start seeing that, you would automatically think, okay, so being the fact that they're doing that, what are they hiding? What are they up for? You know what I mean? I'm not paying. So whenever I heard this stuff going on, I didn't pay attention to none of it. When they talked about Charlie Kirk, none of it. Distraction. Mind you, that was a tragic thing that went on. But I knew that they were going to use that for something.
Of course.
Put it back. When they talk about Epstein, put it back. When they talked about Diddy, put it back. When they talked about, just about every high profile thing that came on, everybody focused on this.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how many buildings went down in Gaza just in that day? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So what happened during that time while everybody's paying attention over here? Number one, Gaza got basically obliterated.
Yes. Leveled.
Okay. What else you have going on? When they passed that big, beautiful bullshit bill, everybody was focused over here. When they signed that Restrict Act, quote, quote, TikTok bill, which ended up being Patriot Act 2.0.
Yep.
Everybody was looking over here. When they went through and the Supreme Court made it legal to basically, if you looked like you was if you look Spanish, talk Spanish, or whatever, that they had the right to just stop you with no cause whatsoever and question you.
They did say that.
Everybody's looking over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I can keep going because there's plenty more. Because it seems like every other day there's something else going on.
If not every day.
You know what I mean? When they sit here and try to pass, when they actually went and passed the bill to where they can actually deport U.S. citizens, everybody looking over here. Ain't nobody's paying attention over here. And this is the whole part of this conversation right here. People need to wise up, because when you see this going on and you see the propaganda that they pushing out and they purposely doing it, it's just like when you was a kid and, your mom wanted to get you out of what you were doing. She'd be like, oh, look, squirrel. And everybody turn around. And you pay attention to where the squirrel is instead of paying attention to what you was actually doing from the beginning. This is the same thing. Cloak and dagger, smoke and mirrors. This is exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? And until we as a people, I'm not talking about black, white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, none of that. Republican,
Left
Democrat,
right,
Independent,
right.
Green Party, Tea Party, don't give a fuck. When you as a whole come together as a people, because remember, it says we the people. You remember that. We the people. When we actually come together as a people, then a lot of this shit that we dealing with right now would change instantly. But as long as they can keep you distracted and divided,
Mm-hmm.
they are automatically in control. And that's exactly what they want to do, because that's the whole agenda right there. As long as they can keep those two things going on, they can basically run whatever it is that they want to run.
And stay
So
in power. Yep.
So who actually benefits from these culture wars? Short answer, not the people.
Congress.
You got the politician that benefits because the culture wars fire up their bases to distract real issues that's going on. Corruption, foreign wars, trading, economics, all of that. You have the media companies, which are ran by three conglomerates that basically tell them what it is that they're going to talk about and what they're not going to talk about. The benefit of that is because of outraged sales, people being pissed off, people rallying, protesting. That's what they want to see. That's news. Every heated debate means more clicks, more people watching, more ratings, more money.
Totally.
Corporations, right? The corporations benefit because while these public fights over flags and bathrooms and statues and tax breaks and all that shit go on, where do you think all this stuff comes from? These corporations have lobbyists. Them lobbyists pay those House representatives, pay those senators to pass them damn bills. That's where it comes from. And then you have the global elites that benefit because a divided society won't unite to challenge anything that's dealing with concentrated power. The more we fight each other, the less we notice who's writing the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a question. I got 3 questions that I given you guys before we started, and I'm gonna read the question, and for the people that's on here, listen to the question. If you got an answer, put it on here. But I'm gonna give everybody a chance to answer the question. So the first question I have out is, are the culture wars we're fighting today truly grassroots, or are they manufactured? I'm going to repeat that. Are the culture wars we're fighting today truly grassroots, or are they manufactured? So either one of y'all that want to start with it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. It's definitely manufactured for the most part. I mean, maybe 5 to 10% could be grassroots, but I would say 90% of it's manufactured. I mean, you look at when 9/11 happened, patriotism was pushed beyond belief in the social medias and medias at that point, and corporations was making money off of it. There's people even making T-shirts was making money off of it. Now today, because the ideology has changed, now if you're a patriot, they call you a Trump supporter just because you say you're a patriot. They constantly, I mean, any form of something that goes against the grain is made to be evil. I mean, we hear the term toxic masculinity, but I tell you what, when shit hits the fan and buildings are caving in around you or there's fires going on, it's going to take that toxic masculine male to come in there and pick you up and carry you to safety, not some weak man that will be afraid to even go into a fire to try to save you. They're constantly vilifying groups, actions, or anything that they think they can make money off of both sides. The ruling elite is constantly financing both sides, and they have these meetings every year where they discuss, and they have the world's leading financiers show up, the rich blue bloods show up, and they discuss over the next 5 years what the world is going to be, what changes are going to occur, how can they make money off of it, because they see us as being a useless group of eaters that are easily manipulated like cattle. And sooner or later, they're going to call the herd with a major war. And in order to have that war, they have to vilify the group that you're going to fight against. They got to make the Russians, the Chinese, or somebody look totally evil. We're the good guys, where we don't know what's occurring behind the scenes, what negotiations are occurring. All we're going off of is what they're willing to let us know, which steers us in the direction that they want us to go in. So if they can make money off of it, if they can steer people, keep in mind during the arm ticket that we all had to take, if you didn't do it, you were wrong and you were going to be fired. And they manipulated that whole situation. And I mean, if you didn't take it and you got it and died, you're not going to infect somebody that did, because they took it. So, but they vilified the people who wasn't going to take it and influenced their jobs to fire them if they refused. That was wrong. I mean, that should
Yeah.
have been a personal choice. But we could see how easily the narrative can be switched and how they can push people in a direction like moving cattle from one pen to another. And that's what they're doing. And people need to start becoming independent thinkers and stop believing everything on the boob tube. There's a reason why they call it the boob tube. So keep that in mind. Start doing your own research and start becoming an objective thinker. Because the one thing about it, they tell people that conspiracy theorists are nuts. But here in the last 10 or 15 years, all those conspiracies turned out to be true. Think about that. I'll stop there.
Yeah, with the whole shot thing, um, it was just announced yesterday that all the YouTube creators, well, not all, but a majority of them, the YouTube creators that were banned for that speech going against it and got permanently banned, are going to be coming back to the platform and reinstated, which is fantastic, but it's a little too late kind of thing. But YouTube and Google actually put out a some sort of statement and saying how they took heavy criticism from the Biden administration to basically delete any accounts that were talking against or negative or critical of that. So it's a big W for the for Americans. It's a big W for people that regarding free speech. But on on that question, AB, regarding that question, there was only one person in here that got anywhere close to what I thought. Jason put as 70-30. My answer is 25-75. You know what I mean? So that's the way I looked at it, is that 25% of these culture war things, that all kind of the things I pointed out regarding those 5 different things. I think 25% of it's real. And then people, just normal people, end up taking it and exemplifying it, especially with social media. And everyone on social media thinks they have a freaking mouthpiece to use, a platform now. And so it's definitely radicalized people, I think, because social media does reward more crazy, controversial shit now, especially. So I think we definitely need to G-check ourselves as an entire culture, right? And say, you know, we need to stop falling for this bullshit and feeding into it.
Right. Now, my answer to that question is that most of it, like most of manufactured or at least heavily amplified. While genuine community issues exist, of course, the speed and the scale in which they spread is not organic. It's powered by politicians, think tanks, lobbying groups, media companies that they go out their way to try to frame a narrative. Now, the anger might be real. But the spark that's often deliberately poured on with the gasoline is generally where a lot of these companies make profit for the division, because that sells, that makes news, you know. And then you have nowadays where you have AI, and a lot of these videos and stuff that come out are AI generated. It's really hard to tell these days what's real and what's not,
No
because of
kidding.
how advanced AI technology has gotten. Now you can still see the little quirks here and there that you, if you pay real close attention, to say like, yeah, that's AI driven, and you're able to, you know, just like, yeah, that's bullshit, and go on out of it. But you have a lot of them that's really convincing. You know what I mean? And once you get that going to where you have these outlets, and they're emphasizing the hate, the division between black and brown, white, and all of that. You know what I mean? Which I'm totally against, been totally against forever. You know what I mean? My family never lived that way. I don't live that way. And I don't teach that shit to my kids. But I know that in small areas, that's still there. That still exists. Why? I do not know, but it does. But and you can see these little small fractions that's around. But the news will turn around and take that and publicize that like it's a nationwide issue, when it's not. It's not a nationwide issue. Now, you know, until recently, everybody had freedom of speech. Until recently. Depending on what you talk about, you may or may not be allowed to say. Now, so anybody that has a quote, quote, opinion on whatever, that is your right to do under freedom of speech. That is your right to do. Until recently, because there's certain things that you just, one particular thing that you ain't allowed to talk about. I'm not even going to bring it up. But it is one thing that you're not allowed to talk about.
Right.
But you can talk about everything else that's worse than that, and it's fine.
Which is
bullshit.
Something I hate. Any type of contradiction, like that's something that I totally, for instance, like the Jimmy Kimmel thing, regarding him, he shouldn't be let go because of a political opinion or any of that shit. But if he does suck and he legitimately is sucking in ratings, then yeah, it's not profitable for the company to keep you, right? But yes, I understand what you're getting at, because there's many walking contradictions, especially from my side right now, that we're like, hey, we didn't want to get censored, but now we're going to censor you because you censored us, kind of thing. And I'm like, no, that's a walking contradiction. You can't do that. You know what I mean? That's not how this works. The First Amendment is actually not for your employer. It's for protection against the government. Okay? So, you know, it's kind of being misconstrued, right?
Yeah, I like to add one thing here. And I want to use the example of the jobs report that comes out every year. The media will tell you that certain colors or whatever are stealing your jobs. And some people watching the boob tube would believe that on the surface. But the true essence is the government is failing to provide new jobs. They're supposed to create new jobs to keep the economy going. If they cannot create those new jobs by drawing businesses here, giving them incentives to come here and employ Americans, then that jobs report comes out and it says the jobs are going down. So instead of admitting that they failed to do their jobs to provide incentives to draw companies here, they will say through the media that certain people are stealing your jobs. Did you really want those jobs? I mean, look behind the scenes, read between the lines. Somebody's failing to do their job. Quit believing the propaganda lies that they're telling you to get you to hate or get you to turn against somebody. Know that the government is running everything, and so are these corporations, and so are the ruling elite. They're pulling strings, and if blame is to be shifted, it would be on them if people would wake up and come together and stop letting these people do this to us. From the time of kings and queens ruling over the peasants, now we live in modern times where you don't see kings and queens, but the politicians have taken their place. Political parties have taken their place. They're working for the advancement of their parties, not the advancement of the human condition or people. And I'll stop there.
I 100% agree with that. I'm gonna hit you with question number 2. Question number 2 is, and I'm gonna read it twice so everybody gets it. Question number 2: who gains when we're divided over identity instead of united over power and resources? Say it one more time. Who gains when we're divided over identity instead of united over power and resources?
Oh, it's definitely corporations and politicians, governments. I'm not going to say politicians, I'm going to say governments. Because, I mean, you look at the Rothschild family, they funded both sides of World War II. And they knew that somebody was going to win, and they were financing the war machines, basically. So they made serious money. Then they got the United States to take away the gold from everyone over here and convince the American public it was better to have paper money instead of gold and silver. They gave you 90 days to turn it all in, $10,000 fine or 10 years in jail. Rothschild family is the richest family in the world. Hands down, nobody comes close because they got all the gold and they gave you a bunch of worthless paper, and they convinced you that not only was it good for you to take that paper, but it was good for you to put it into banks where your money was safe. And if possession is 9/10 of the law, if a national emergency is declared and they seize everybody's bank account, if you can't hold it, you don't own it. And I'll stop there.
With the question that you asked, AB, I don't even think America or the government as a whole, I think they would do better if they did focus more on resources rather than this identity, over this divide over identity. But regarding that, I truly think it only protects and helps Congress and keeps them in power. That's it. I don't think it actually does anything other. Like, I think even corporations and the rest of the government would flourish if they did the first part of that question. Instead, this is the way that the only thing a politician cares about is getting elected and staying elected. That's it. They do all their decision making based off of how I'm going to get reelected. Mm-hmm. Everything. Down to their press conferences, the way they speak to you, all that shit. So, anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I feel that Americans should be most concerned about right now is the cost of living and how it's not keeping up with prices or inflation right now. It is crippling people's incomes. It's making it where people can't even hardly afford to eat. But just like bread and circuses, they entertained you so you didn't see what was going on politically and economically. They're entertaining us with all these distractions so that you won't be asking questions about when is relief coming? When is the inflation going to come down? When will my dollar stretch to where I can have buying power and enjoy that American dream that was promised to me? Where's it going? By 2030, you'll own nothing and you're going to be happy. They're already telling you this is the way it's going to be. This is going to be the new culture.
Right.
Right in front of your face too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. That was one of the things that I was going to get at too, is dealing with that, because you talked about the World Economic Forum said that, and then you talk about the agenda 2030 and all that. So they're telling you ahead of time what they're trying to do. They're telling you, same as they did Project 2025. They told you ahead of time what they were going to do. A lot of people took heed to what they said. A lot of people didn't. Now, it's the ones who didn't, it's the ones that's complaining right now because they didn't take heed to it. But, you know, even the whole strategy around, let's say, talk about this big bill real quick. And a lot of people would think like, okay, well, that's really not bothering me right now. They've already signed the bill. It's really not bothering me right now. But what you don't realize is that a lot of this stuff dealing with that bill doesn't even kick in until after the 26 elections. That shit doesn't even kick in until after then. And to me, it seemed like, okay, that was purposely done.
Yeah, for after midterms.
Right. Why would you push all that shit back to after the midterm elections and then bam,
Yeah, of course.
you hit everybody with it? You know what I mean? That's a whole damn deception. Now, how many people actually knew that? How many people actually knew that a lot of that shit dealing with that bill did not come into effect after the midterm elections?
Most people, I would say,
You know what I mean?
probably 90% plus, if not way more. It could be 95, 99, 98%.
Right, exactly. So those of you who didn't know, now you know. But my answer to that question is, and you both answered the same thing, was the politicians, because a lot of them gained votes relying on the base around the identity, but their base they base around identity while avoiding accountability on the bigger issues.
That's the name of the game, isn't it?
Right. And then you have the corporations, of course, which gains money because while people argue over all this stuff, then a lot of their stuff like loopholes and deregulation and a lot of that stuff just slips right through the cracks unnoticed. You don't even have an idea that even went on. And then you have the elites like Aaron was talking about. They gain control because a divided society won't unite to challenge concentrated power. It's in the history books. That's never taken place. Division keeps the public fighting each other instead of questioning the people that's actually writing these rules. So as long as we keep sitting here bickering amongst ourselves, what are you solving? Nothing.
Right.
What are you changing? Nothing. What are you trying to fix? Nothing. So,
and we just keep doing this.
Right. Like I said, it's an ongoing cycle. It happens every time. That's the whole point of even doing this particular topic. Because it's like people, like, stop using your head. Use your head for something besides a fucking hack rack. Realize what the fuck is really going on here. Wise up. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say wake up. I ain't gonna call you woke. But I'm saying you don't need all the sense in the world, but you need this much common sense.
Right.
If you have this much common sense, then you realize there's somebody blowing smoke up your ass.
And know what to look for. And that's what our job is here.
You'll know that.
Point that out. Right.
So we're gonna hit question 3, and this is the last question that we're gonna hit for tonight. Question 3. If culture wars are the distraction, what do you think happens in the shadows right now that we should be watching instead? Read it again. If culture wars are the distraction, what's happening in the shadows right now that we should be watching instead?
I would say trends. like I said earlier, where the World Economic Forum, Jerome Powell, different ones are saying in 2030, you will own nothing, you will be happy. We can see that real estate is rising in prices. Gold and silver's world is, man, it's getting so expensive that average person before long is not going to be able to afford to buy it. Look for where the trends are going and then be able to adjust yourself to be able to fit in to find your place. Because right now, my grandchildren, by the time they reach 18 or 20, they're not going to be able to afford to buy real estate in the United States. On the East and West Coast lines, real estate is so expensive, the average person cannot afford it. Now the interior of the United States is rising in price. Whether people know it or not, price is the last legal form of discrimination. You don't have to live there if you can't afford it. They can price you and put you in zones or in areas that are more economically pressed. And not only that, areas that they know, like, for example, Tornado Alley. We know that that's going to be hit. The crops there are going to be damaged. There's going to
And
be
I'm right
flooding.
there. I'm right in it.
There's going to be all this that's going to happen. And then insurance companies aren't going to want to insure you. If that property is the cheapest, that's where the majority of the average people can afford to buy. That's where they're going to be piled up at. And when those disasters happen, it's going to be disproportionately affected because those who live well are going to live in the better areas that's not hit with the wildfires and all this stuff. Those who can't afford got to go over here, and they're in the death zones, basically hoping to survive the cataclysms that come their way. So, I mean, price is the last legal form of discrimination. You should be buying hard assets right now. You should be, I mean, and I've said it in the past on this show, it ain't the strongest that's going to survive. It ain't the smartest that's going to survive. It's the people who can adapt to change the quickest. Those are going to be the ones that's going to make it. So you should be looking at the trends, which way it's going, which jobs are going to be phased out. Don't be getting a degree in something that's going to be gone 2 or 3 years after you get there. The trades, they're always going to need that. AI is not going to replace that. Some of this other stuff, when they come out with these cars, these that drive themselves, they're not going to need Uber or taxi cabs or stuff. So look for jobs, look to adapt, and position yourself to survive what's coming. I'll stop there.
Yeah, to quickly answer your question there, AB, regarding with this culture war, what are they really hiding? And what I always say is anytime there's a big event, look at what bills are being passed, A, for a national standpoint, and B, an international standpoint. Watch what's happening around the world. And again, just because it just happened, I'll speak on it regarding like the whole thing with Kirk, when that whole assassination happened, what happened, around the world. I mean, there was some movement and no one was looking, so that's kind of an example of, is it necessarily the person that got hurt and all of that, and this a big conspiracy? No, but people unfortunately take advantage of situations, especially politicians and all this shit, when they know that everyone's looking over here. Well, hey, everyone's looking there. We can get this bill passed in the middle of the night because no one's going to see this shit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the important things to be looking at during big events.
Mm-hmm. Now I put both of you had some good ones. Had some really good ones. So this is what I got. I got the first thing. I got economic shifts, because you got the BRIC nations that's challenging the U.S. dollar, while debt and inflation is reshaping the global economy. We all know that. We've been talking about that for months. You got the military moves. U.S. expanding their presence in Latin America and Asia, while Russia and China are deepening their alliances. I just seen a report this morning where they were saying that Russia was sending warships and jets over to Venezuela. But we did a show about this, and we was talking about the reason why they're doing this, and it wasn't because of no drugs. And
That's
now you
right.
see how it's gradually escalating. You see now it has nothing to do with no drugs. Then you got surveillance and technology. You got the rapid rollout of AI. You got digital ID, facial recognition, with very little oversight. You got a lot of these big cities that's the government's giving a lot of money to turn them into smart cities. I know I have an aunt that lives in Columbus, Ohio, and she told me where in the city, if you owned a landline phone, they were taking it out. They taking out everybody's landline phones.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
So she had to get, because they're making it all smart cities. So she had to go get a cell phone because they came in and took, if you had a landline phone, gone. No more
So they
landline phone.
now would they take it and say, "Well, here's a cell phone to replace it"? You know, you're taking something like, at least I'm going to give you a free plan or something.
Right. Like they end up giving them a cell phone to cover for the landline phone that they took.
Right.
But you know the whole reason for taking the landline phones, because landline phones can't, I mean, other than you doing a tap, I mean, you can.
They don't collect data like cell phones.
Right. So you can get away with that. So they trying to do away with all of that. Then you have the wealth transfer. You got billionaires that's consolidating these industries, from food to housing, while the average people, you and me, struggling. And then you have the climate and the resource wars, where you got water, rare earth minerals, and energy that's becoming the actual real battlegrounds that's going on out here today. So the overall takeaway to that is, I would think that culture wars look like a story, but it's just really all smoke. The fire to this is the economic power shift, the global governments expanding control throughout surveillance, and the corporations that's consolidating wealth, while the people are still left distracted, divided, and everybody's into it over the smallest little things that go on. It's kind of like, I've seen a bunch of stuff on here in the past few weeks. People are talking about civil war and all this other shit. For what? For what? You fighting the wrong fucking people.
Right? No kidding.
You fighting the wrong people.
It's
so
us.
What are you going to civil war about?
Right.
Exactly. So you sitting here fighting each other, and they sitting here watching you laughing, and was like, y'all see that?
While they're controlling each side like this. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the reason why I said, wise up, people. Wise up. Pay attention. You know what I mean? Pay attention. Because this is really what's going on these days. You know what I mean? And and as long as you keep falling for it, it's gonna continue to go. As I done said time and time again, what's going on right now stretches beyond identity. It stretches beyond political boundaries. What this has to do with is a people. As a people, as I said before, we the people, we're going to have to come to a point in time in history that we bond together and cut the bullshit and deal with what's really important. Because if we don't, the only thing we're going to keep doing is going through the same cycle over and over again. So even though these culture wars are loud and they're emotional and they're exhausting, but they're real strategic about what they're doing. They keep us focused on fighting each other while the real power plays happen in silence that we don't even know anything about. The shift in the wealth, the resources, and even the influence. So if we want to understand global conflict, economic wars, or even our own communities and why they feel so divided, we have to see culture wars for what they really are, a tool. I think I'm just going, you know, it's crazy, but it's just remember one thing is that the surface of this may be noisy, but the truth to this is always underneath. So I'm going to end the show tonight with that. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for coming out like always. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Please, please, please share this video with somebody. Share this video with somebody. This is one of the most important shows that I think we've done because people really need to pay attention to what's really going on here because your enemy is not the person next door. The enemy is not the person that you work with. The enemy is the people that you're rooting for that you don't even know personally. So like, follow, share, subscribe. If you haven't got on the Facebook Dominant Effect group, please go on there. We post a lot of stuff on there throughout the week. Also, if you hit the QR code up there, you hit the Dominant Effect store. We to lot of stuff that's up there. A lot of good stuff. And if you're actually a member, you actually get to look at stuff that nobody else sees. There's a lot of good stuff that's on that end that you wouldn't even believe that we have on there, but we do. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So go on there and check it out. Yeah. So I'll see you all in 7 days. Like I said, please, 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 please share this video. Please. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, again, the person that can adapt to change the fastest. Look for what the trends are. Live below your means is the best advice I can give you. I've been saying it for a while. You can still live a good quality of life and live below your means. Pay yourself out of debt. Get out of debt. Don't leave an estate full of debt that your children have to take on that burden. And if you can, pay that house off. Don't put no second and third mortgage against it to do some repairs around the house. Pay that house off. Leave real estate for the children. Build generational wealth for the next generation. Because when you're in the last stage of your life, like I am, we have no guarantee how much time we got. It could be 1 day, it could be 30 years. You don't know. As my friend found out, his life, and he just started prepping. He was doing great, and then his life came to an end. So build generational wealth. Look to the next generation, your children and your grandchildren. Give them a leg up. And have some life insurance on yourself so that you leave something behind, what I call seed money. Leave them some seed money so that they can get a house or get something going for themselves or get into some investments. But see what's coming, plan your response for it, and work toward it. No matter what your friends are doing, no matter how many people are trying to influence you or the propaganda is trying to influence you, pick a course of action, get laser hot like a jet fighter hunting to kill something, get on track, and don't let nobody deter you from reaching the end of your mission. I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think this was a very, very important topic, and I thank you guys for bringing the, you two, Aaron and Archbishop, for bringing these kind of topics to light. I think one of the most important things in any organization, government, or any of that is understanding your enemy, right? And understand that your enemy is not your neighbor. Understand that it is you versus, it's us versus them, which is the government. You know what I mean? It's a humongous play, which we've all, I think, are cliche to hear, but understand it's real. So that being said, I can't thank you two for bringing these kind of topics to light. Thank you for everyone that's in the chat participating and donating, sending in money, hitting the like button, whether it be in the beginning, middle, the end, doesn't matter. You guys hit that like button. It definitely goes a long way. Make sure you guys go over to the Diamond Effect side as well on YouTube and on Facebook, both sides. There's a lot of great content, and I'm in there and hanging out with everybody as well. Anyways, That being said, thank you guys. We'll see you guys here in the next 7 days. Stick around on my side. We're going to be sending you guys over to my buddy Grid One and let them know we're coming through with the raid. But until then, we'll see you guys here real soon. Much love, honor, respect, everybody.
Peace.